Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Job. And this week, I've got a guest with me. It's Kristian Potter. How are you, Kristian? You okay?
I am very well. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for having me on your show today.
That's my pleasure. We just a quick, so people understand sort of how we know each other. We met through networking, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We mean biz, yes.
Yeah, we mean biz, and we've been chatting. I think it was I can't remember which one it was at, but we were chatting, and I said to you about coming on the podcast because I think your journey's interesting and with the people you help now, and and you and then I think maybe wasn't the time, but you contacted me the other day, didn't you, and went, "Yeah, I'm ready now. Let's go."
The time is now. The time is now, yes.
Yeah. So so tell it, Christian, what for anyone listening, what is it you do?
So I am a personal development coach. I teach mental health, personal development, emotional healing, meditation, mindfulness, self-regulation, self-soothing, self-acceptance, self-confidence, self-esteem, all the selves. How to build up our internal world. So we have two very different worlds that we live in. We have the external world that is filtered through our five senses and converted into electrical chemical signaling. And then we have our internal world of thoughts, feelings, emotions, imagination, perceptions, interpretations, and beliefs. And our objective is to get to know ourselves in the inner world. And that's what meditation and mindfulness is. It's a vehicle to help us to expand our self-awareness, to get to know who we are, to understand our triggers, to work with our insecurities and fears, and to start working on the troublemakers that are directly affecting our ability to do that thing that we want to do. So to be a visionary of our life and to get to know ourselves, we've got to build up rock solid confidence to step into the world and speak our truth. And that takes a lot of inner work to understand what our patterns are, to work with our triggers, etc. Because when we speak, when we walk into the world and we say something to someone and they say something back, and you might get something come up from your body, people trigger things from past events that we may not be aware of. And we're learning to process our internal world through acceptance, forgiveness, and letting go. We're learning how to heal those parts of ourselves that we may have brushed under the carpet, things we have done from the past, etc. And it's an emotional healing practice. Through this, it allows us to heal those wounds. So when people speak to us, there's no triggers anymore, or very, very
Mm.
little. Or you can tell when someone says something, you can become more curious about why you may have reacted that way. So it's a signal from the body giving us insight about something that we still need to work on within our own personality. So personal development, emotional healing, meditation, mindfulness, it's all a vehicle of transcendence, it's called, that allows us to transcend our habitual, automatic, unconscious patterns of the past, which allows us to evolve into the highest expression of ourself. So by doing the inner work that I know you're on your own journey as well, and you've been doing these things too, it allows us to do the work on ourselves internally in our inner world that allows us to slowly walk into the world, the highest expression of ourselves. I know that was a big mouthful then.
No. Right, I'll hit record now. No.
Yeah.
So the word, so what, for anyone listening, because I think the people that sort of listen to this, I would describe as some of them may have done some of this work, but generally the people I work with, I describe are like blokes, and may not get some of that, like, and transcendence and all that. And I'm interested, what for you, what is transcendence?
Okay, when you can rise above your patterns from a place of detachment, it allows us to see what floats through us from a place of non-judgment, and gently, slowly, we can transcend those patterns. Does that make sense? So,
Yes, yeah,
our,
because I'm reading a book called because I'm I'm sort of reading a lot about that, and obviously I coach as well. But I keep hearing this word transcendence, and you sort of go, well, what does it mean to transcend? But I think that explains it perfectly. It's not so I'm getting this right, is what you're saying is it's not stopping it, but it's rising above. It's not. It's sort of getting that detachment, separation from it.
yes, if you kind of, so we have our higher self and our lower self. Okay. When we rise above our ego self, it allows us to see the reasons why we are doing things from our higher self, and that allows us to live more intentionally. So
Mm.
we have habitual patterns that are driven through past events, etc., and our own insecurities, and that can trigger our ego self. And our higher self is like our prefrontal cortex, our new cortex, this new brain that we have. And it's allowing us to see our pattern through a constructive lens so we can align our actions with our values, our principles, and the person we're becoming, that vision that we have for our life. So we're understanding ourselves on a deep level that we can start choosing intentionally. And that's working through the 60 to 70,000 thoughts that we have every single day, 90 to 95% of which is automatic and unconscious. We are bringing the unconscious parts of ourselves into the light, which allows us to work with them because we can't change that which we can't see. So it allows us to see ourselves more clearly. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
100%. And one thing, because this is something I've been toying with, because, and I wonder what your view is on this, is we talk about like the higher self, as in the prefrontal cortex. This, for anyone not listening, like the brain's very complicated, isn't it? But it's in simple terms, this thinking part of the brain that sets us out from all other animals, is it? All other organisms. We get to plan ahead, we predict, and we can, and it gives that meaning, a higher cognitive function. And and like you say, often and this is and as I say, I don't say this is the truth. This is just where I am with it at the moment. We go, well, actually, it's this part of our brain we need to engage more, and I 100% get that because it's what we're able to plan with. But with my sport, like kayaking and things like that, and I noticed just in life in general, what I've found is it's the prefrontal causing the problems. As in, so I was reading a book called, I don't know if you read it, The Rise of Superman. Have you read that one?
I haven't
It,
read that
it,
one.
it,
No.
I read it because I love it because it's all about sort of extreme sports and it's about the flow state, Stephen Kotler and the flow state.
Yeah, I
And it
love
is
it.
interesting because what they said was in the brain, they always thought the flow state was the prefrontal cortex on like in in 10th gear. Like it was all lighting up and then enabling us to access this state of flow. But someone went, that doesn't seem right because that's the thinking part of the brain. And when I'm in the flow state, I'm not thinking. And so they did scans, and what they found was the brain, the part of the brain, the I think it's the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex, and this other part, which I can't remember the name of, basically it doesn't enhance, it actually downregulates. So this part of your brain that is designed to think and plan, which is also responsible for self-criticism and overthinking, downregulates. And I just think it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's so many different, and I think theories and views on it. And we go, and actually, is it that part of the brain? It makes us so amazing and be able to plan. But is it that part that's also causing us the pain?
That's a wicked viewpoint. Thank you for that. So when everything's in alignment internally, as in we're not getting in our own way with belief systems, we're not getting in our own way with self-doubt, we're not distracted because our mind's thinking about that next thing we need to do rather than the thing we're actually doing. The more present we become and the more aligned we are internally with what we're working on, that allows us to embody the flow state because we are so deeply present with what we're doing. When time just flies by completely because we are so immersed in the thing that we're doing and we're not self-conscious, we're not thinking about our body in the wrong way, we're inside our body. So through the lens of high performance and athletics, for instance, the athlete is immersed, their whole awareness, their consciousness is inside their body and they are feeling every intricate movement of their muscles, but they're not feeling their body through the lens of self-consciousness, which is they're worried about what other people are thinking more, and they're in a worry response. So full immersion in the present moment allows us access to flow state because everything's in alignment with the thing you are doing.
Mm.
There's not too much fear. There's not too much insecurity. Like the fear response itself can be activated. So we got the sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight, adrenaline, cortisol was pumping through the body. We want that primitive part of our brain to be activated because it gives us more energy. So we want that to be harnessed, but if there's too much conscious thought that
Mm.
someone's making on the thing they're doing, we trip ourselves up inside our mind. So as they say, the sport is won or the event is won in the locker room beforehand because what the athlete is doing inside their psychology before they walk out to do the event is either setting themselves up to win because their thoughts and that are in alignment with what they want, the outcome they want, and the insecurity, the fear, all the things that we can do every day inside our mind. But we have to train and condition ourselves to do this in a place of safety, our home, day-to-day living. So when we step up and we increase the stress and pressure of walking out into the road and speaking our truth or doing that event, for instance, that part of our brain, we're in alignment.
Mm,
Everything's in alignment with the outcome that we want. And we can't enter flow states if there's too many things inside of us tripping us up. And our belief systems that I've seen a number of videos that you've put out on belief systems recently, and they're really wicked because it's powerful to understand how our beliefs about
mm,
possibility, our beliefs about our capability, our beliefs about our intelligence, the fact that this is possible, this thing that they're doing, it directly affects the outcome. So our beliefs can stop us entering flow state. Our
mm.
frustration inside of our body that we might feeling, our minds thinking about doing. There's so many things we can do to block it. And what we're doing is learning how to become in alignment with what we want, the outcome that we want. That's what helps us to enter flow states. This is part of what I actually teach flow state because it's very, very powerful. And it doesn't actually matter what activity you're doing. That's the interesting thing. We can go in flow cleaning. That's what therapeutic cleaning is. Therapeutic cleaning is when someone's just doing the job and they're loving it, they're enjoying it,
Mm.
and they get a sense of feeling good inside their body when they do it. There's no resistance. We have
Yeah.
to let go of resistance. It's resistance that generates stress in the wrong direction, and that puts us too much in the fight and flight in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it. Like, do you have any questions on that, or what's your
But
own
no, no, no,
what's your own viewpoint on it?
no, no, no. I think it's fascinating, isn't it? Because as you were saying that, I could imagine myself a few weeks ago at the top of a drop called Euthanasia Falls, and I could do a podcast with this guy, hopefully that I was paddling with as well, because we were talking about managing fear. But what I've realized is like when I'm, and like you say, that I just think sports, extreme sports they are just the easy way to access flow because it almost does it automatically for you. But when you realize, oh, I can access this day to day is brilliant. But what I used to do was, I used to overthink. So I'm like, I used to overanalyze, analyst, but paralysis by analysis. And when I used to go paddling, I used to be trying to paddle these rivers consciously trying to overthink about everything I was doing and overplan. And as I learned this more and become better with failure and got a better relationship with myself, what I realized was I have to have the skill level. Like you said, there's so much there because if you haven't got the skill level, you couldn't just chuck someone on that's never paddled before and chuck them on the upper dart and go, get in the flow state, you'll be fine. Like you've got to have that skill level. But then when I was at the top of this drop, my brain started to go, you're gonna you're gonna mess this up. It's always you're gonna die, which is like extreme, and then it's like you're gonna crack your head open, you're gonna knock your teeth out, da, 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 da. And but being in that point, being able to get, like you said, that transcending, that separation from that voice, and going, okay, I hear you, and then having, and this is what I find is then having the courage to trust that my body, like exactly like you said then, like my body, my subconscious is going to know what to do. I don't have to think about this. I just have to commit and not let that voice take hold. And literally, I went over without thinking what I was doing. I just knew I know where I'm going. And it just went bum, 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 all smooth, lovely. And and I, like you say, you are in the moment, you're in the body, you're not analyzing and critiquing. And I totally agree with you. To get to that stage, there's a lot of work done in private before you can go out and do it there.
100%, yeah. And what you said there, Johnny, was your attention was on the outcome you wanted. You
Mm,
knew where you wanted to go, you said.
yeah.
Now that is very powerful. So we've got this emotional steam that comes up inside of our body. When the emotional steam comes up, it either goes down the direction of fear or creation. Now,
Mm,
when our attention is on the outcome we want, it's in creation. When we go into too much of a fear response and we're start worrying about our ability, so maybe our self-trust is gone down a little bit, we can go into stage fright. So one of the layers of the fight or flight response is freeze. And the freeze response is an ancient part of our brain designed biologically to protect us when predators were roaming the savannah and we'd play dead
mm,
so the predator would smell us and notice though that we weren't moving, they just move on. So this freeze response of the fight and flight response is that. And if
mm,
someone's got stage fright, they're on stage, they've got to deliver their speech, and they become so nervous, their brain just shuts down. So they go into a freeze response, but we can channel the energy the neurochemicals of stress are also high performance. So when you're going into creation this way and our attention's on what we want, the outcome that we
Mm,
want, and we're not worrying about all these scenarios that we don't want to happen. So our psychology and our mindset is directing what takes place. If we
mm,
start overthinking in our minds on all the different things that we don't want to happen, then we're not on the outcome that we want, are we? So
mm,
we have to be very careful about what we do with our psychology, but the transcendent component that I mentioned earlier, we can still have a thought that floats through our awareness and we can see it, but we're watching it as it is, and that thought is a belief system. This is going to happen. That's a belief.
mm.
So our belief system drive our thought patterns, but we don't have to take our thoughts so seriously.
Yeah.
Just because if we've got the event that we're just about to walk into and we have some self-sabotaging thought patterns that we get every now and then when we are under pressure, that's when we can see our thoughts as they are and recognize that they are just beliefs of the old self, and we are learning how to transcend them by not taking it so seriously. But you can't do this in high pressure environments. You've got to learn and develop the skill set in a place of safety. So if you imagine the analogy, stress and pressure can burst pipes, but it can also produce diamonds. We're building
Yeah.
emotional resilience through understanding our nervous system's ability to need rest, and we need to level up by expanding our comfort zone gently, slowly. So, David Data, in his book, The Way of the Superior Man, he talks about living at the edge of our capabilities, and we're slowly nudging out our comfort zone by slowly leveling up our own self-trust. It's our
Yeah.
self-trust that gives us the ability to feel confident in the moment that we can do that thing that we want to do. And the beautiful way that you're doing it with sports is the fact that you're leveling up. You're on your own. You're in your kite. You're doing your thing by yourself. So you're
Mm.
creating emotional resilience and overcoming fear consistently inside your nervous system. So then when you move more and more into a public speaking career, like I know we both are, you've already got that self-trust, and the feeling inside the body's the same. It's the same fear response, but you're nudging into it in a sport that's giving you more emotional resilience over the long term because you're
Mm.
able to work with the thoughts that are coming up. And the same type of thoughts will come up when you walk into an arena with 8,000 people. You'll have the same type of patterns that come up. So
Mm.
it's very exciting to be able to build and expand our comfort zone and finding the easiest exit point for whoever the person is and nudging into uncomfortability more and more because the fear response is the same, whatever you're doing. Now, one of the things that I always did to help me with this was cold therapy. So if you get under ice cold cold water, your body goes into fight and flight. Your body's saying, "Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out."
Mm.
Well, I wanted to build up inner strength and say, "No, you're staying there. You're staying in here, body. You're completely safe. We're not under any danger." You have to
Mm.
teach your body safety, and it's a great way to do it with cold therapy, or even saunas actually. So your body's saying, "Get out the sauna." And the hot and cold is the same stress inside the system. Now, we can use holistic therapies like hot and cold therapy to build emotional resilience because you're teaching the body to work with that uncomfortability. That uncomfortability is the same whether you're walking out in front of an audience of 100 people, 1,000 people, or you're stood at the end of a cliff and you've got to jump off because someone's doing this
Mm.
crazy adrenaline sport. But we're working with our internal world and seeing the thoughts that come up. What do I think and say when I'm in that environment? And what can I do next time that comes up? When we expect something to happen, that gives us certainty and safety. So we know, when we know ahead of time, this is what I normally do in this situation. These are the sort of thoughts that come up. I know those beliefs aren't real, so we can rationalize it in a place of safety, journaling, etc. And we can really get to know ourselves. And that's very powerful because we do take our thoughts seriously at times when we're in a fear response. We've got to kind of like learn how to use our breath to self-regulate. We're using different techniques in different situations depending on the pressure we're under. And that is a really big deal because we've got to start small and expand our capacity slowly. That's what emotional resilience is. We have to build our emotional capacity slowly.
So, what is that book you said?
That was David Data, The Way of the Superior the Man.
Sorry,
Really, really good book.
David.
David Data,
How do you spell Data? Dada?
Deida, yeah.
Deida. And what's it called?
The Way of the Superior Man.
Right, I'm going to read that. So, before we go on, when you said, I think it's really interesting. When you said you can't do it in high pressure, why is that?
Okay, so let's think about learning how to swim. Okay, you can jump in a pool at the deep end, and sometimes someone will survive. Okay,
Good luck to you.
The reality of building up self-trust is always better. Like our brain's designed to conserve energy. At one of its roots, it's designed to conserve energy. And also our system's biologically wired for survival. So we want to teach our body safety and expand our comfort zone. Now we want to find the path of least resistance to make it as easy as possible for ourselves to do the thing that we want to do. But there is such thing as full immersion. So in my own journey, 9 years ago, when I went through my midlife crisis, I changed so many things overnight, literally overnight, because my depression got so bad that couldn't want navigating well. I was completely like nearing burnout, and I needed to learn how to. Pain's a powerful force. If we can leverage pain, it allows us to take massive action straight away. So we're either taking massive action, leveraging our pain that someone's going through, or we're using the pleasure component of our brain, which is creating vision, the reasons why we're doing the things we're doing, and we can slowly start changing things and rehabitualize ourselves gently. Yeah. But we want to kind of leverage both of these two things, and it depends on where someone is in their journey. Yes, you can learn very quickly by being put in a very lethal situation. You got to think fast. You got to think on your feet. But in reality, most people aren't in that position. Well, I hope not anyway.
Yeah.
But we want to find the path of least resistance, Johnny. And that's why we want to level up slowly, because we're teaching our body to increase our emotional capacity gently in a kinder way to ourselves that's more manageable. Yes, we can jump up levels. And like in my own journey now, I feel very, very certain that I can just go full whack with my public speaking career. I got loads of opportunities soon. I feel very safe because I've done so much work behind the scenes in my private time and in my talks that I've been doing. I feel very safe now to actually do it. Even on going on podcasts and stuff, it's you've got to be at that point that you trust yourself. Otherwise, someone feels too much self-doubt before the call. They've got loads of worrisome thoughts. Oh my God, I got this podcast tomorrow. We're always priming ourselves with what we're doing with our thought patterns. We're constantly priming ourselves, and we have to learn how to trust ourselves to do the thing we want to do. And if we level up too fast and we step outside of our bubble too quick, we're too much in uncertainty, and that overloads our brain's desire to be. So we are homeostatic beings, and our brain's designed for survival. That balance component, if we step too much out of it, our body don't like change.
So,
Our body. Sorry.
no, so because that's really interesting because this is what Stephen Kotler says in The Rise of Superman. I mean, they come up with a percentage, and he said you can't really measure it, but they had to put a percentage on it. They said what was the perfect place to access flow, and it was 4%. He said how you actually measure that if you're doing something, but basically what they were saying was if you're well within your comfort zone, boredom can slip in, and you're probably not going to access it. And exactly what you said then, if you go, right, that's it, I'm going to over leverage myself and jump, which is interesting. This has been very interesting for people I work with because they're all or nothing. They're like, right, that's it, I'm going all in. The nervous system can't take it, then you can't access that flow. Whereas if you go exactly what you're saying, and I did a podcast with someone else on it last week about marginal gains, he's gone. He's gone. He's disappeared. He's run up. Oh, he's back. But if you edge up slowly, am I right in saying then what you're saying is if you edge up slowly, one, you can access that flow state, but also you're letting your nervous system regulate. And once it regulates inside and goes, that thing you're fearful of, say like you're fearful of public speaking, and then you take small steps, tiny steps towards it, and then you go, oh, actually, it's okay. People don't judge me, or oh, when someone does criticize me, we don't die. And then you go, we're safe with that. Then you get that confidence and you keep edging. And then suddenly you can do this, what's perceived to be a big thing.
Yes, that is a really big deal. Sorry, that was my phone going off then. I just had to turn it off. I just had to turn my phone off.
I thought, fuck me, I know I'm boring, but that's ridiculous. He's just gone.
Yeah, so our nervous system is wired from the ground up to grow and improve under stress and pressure. Okay, but we have to have adequate rest to allow ourselves to level up. When someone's nearing burnout and they're at that point, their nervous system is always firing on all cylinders. Now, we are not designed biologically to run from saber-toothed tigers or run 24/7. Our body doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. And our bodies and our brains evolved over millions of years. This fight and flight is a very ancient part of our brain, and we have to learn how to turn that dial down of adrenal glands constantly pumping adrenaline cortisol around. That system's got to be turned down, 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 down. Now, it doesn't get turned off completely because we want to be able to regulate it. But a regulated nervous system is one that's firing with both of these, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. Rest and digest is healing.
Mm.
If we're always in this heightened state of arousal and our body's constantly pumping massive amounts of adrenaline coursing through our body's not able to maintain that over the long term. And this all or nothing thing, absolute full whack into this thing that people just love doing. I've done it myself when I was younger as well. But like, it's our brain's not wired for that properly, and that for us to really level up and for our body to feel safer and safer in different environments, then we have to have the downtime to allow ourselves to heal, for our body to regenerate, for our nervous system to upregulate itself, so to speak. And it's very powerful. As soon as you understand that, we can walk into an environment that once would have really scared us,
Mm.
but our body feels safe. But if we train, so just like a shadow boxer learns a specific fighting move, etc., over and over and over and over, hundreds and hundreds of times, they throw specific punches. Shadow boxing is training the body to perform in high stress environments. When that fighter gets into the ring, yes, they want that fight and flight activate, so that they're getting themselves in an anger state, that rage state internally, so they can harness that power. But if they're always living in that, it doesn't work that way. If we're always living in that heightened state, they're always feeling anger, resentful, comfortable in their body. It's just too much for our body. And that's why people reach that point that someone could just drop a mug on the floor and they just burst into tears. I can't cope. I can't take any more. That
Yeah.
extra stress and pressure is just that too much. And you've got to be able to activate that rest and digest. It's very powerful.
I can really relate to what you're saying because as you were saying that, I was sort of reflecting on myself. And it's funny because I coach people that are all or nothing, and I think everyone says you help, you love doing what you need the most. I love that saying. Like as in like I help self-critical perfectionists, all who are all or nothing thinking, they feel unfulfilled. And I go, yeah, look in the mirror, here we go. But it's interesting because what you said then, and I'll share like what I'm going through like, right now, is I suddenly went like I decided I'm going to leave the place. Bearing in mind, been in 18 and a half years, always had lots of doubts about self-trust, about that I could go out and create something. And I didn't dip a fucking toe in. I literally just went, right, I'm going. And I had no plan. Well, I said I didn't have a plan. I had someone that said, I might have some work for you, but you can't rely on it. And I just fucking leapt. And it's really been really interesting because basically what you say there is sometimes you go, Matt, was there a way to build up? Because it sounds so heroic just jumping, doesn't it? But actually, you go, but what I find with my nervous system, and this is what it's quietening now, but exactly what you said about dropping the cup on on the thing, because I leapt and then suddenly I had the thing of, right, I got to learn how to build a business now. And now I got to get a job and I was getting lots of different jobs. And my nervous system was so heightened that if, say, and it happened like the other day, I often sit there, meditate, and notice what's going on in my body in reaction to my environment. And fuck me, the door will open. You hear a click and it goes, and it's jumped. And you think it's probably just because of exactly what you said. It's like over leveraged. It's not crept up and go, I'm safe with this, I'm safe with this, I'm safe with this. It's like you've jumped and your nervous system's gone, hang tight. And then you can see then where you don't do the thing you need to do because you're in the freeze response because you're
Yes,
nervous
yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
because I don't know what your take on it is, but I how I've interpreted the and sort of heard and I love this is that the fight or flight you've got the sympathetic nervous system which is like on we're going and fighting or we're running, so that's like action. And then you've got the parasympathetic, which comes in rest and digest. And actually, what I heard was the freeze response is when your brain's considering, do we fight? Do we run? Then goes, that's not an option. And because you can't do either, the parasympathetic comes in and shuts you down because it goes, we now have to stay still because we're going to be eaten. We freeze. And that's the freeze response. And I see that happening with me. As in, like, if I can fight, if I can go headlong into something, which is why I like the kayaking, I'm either not doing it, I'm off, or I'm doing it. There's no in between. There's no I'm just gonna try going down it. It's like you're either fucking in or you're out. But and the times I have hesitated, I've got injured, swam, and done had some nasty experiences. But it is interesting what you say is like with these other things like your life, whether it's building business, new jobs, whatever it is for you individually, if you just are that all or nothing and you jump too soon and you over leverage yourself, you might find yourself in a totally frozen response. And it feels really, and it's almost like it's too much to make progress with.
Yes, it really does depend where someone is in their journey, to be honest. So so on the other end of the spectrum, Tony Robbins says to take the island, you got to burn the bridges. Oh, you got to burn the ship. Sorry,
Yeah,
to
burn the
take the island,
boats, burn the
you
boats,
got to
isn't it?
burn the
Yeah.
boats. You got to burn the boats. So from that mindset, you've got go all in, burn the boats. Let's take the island. We've got one mission, and that's to take the island, and that's it. That takes a lot of courage and self-confidence. And what you've did, because you've built 18 years of confidence and competency in your work, you knew that you were going to be amazing at what you did, really, because you built so many different skills doing that one job. You
Yeah.
had self-trust.
But what I want to do is I want to paint a realistic picture for people coming here because that's not how it feels. As in, like I've been like I don't want people to think that I jumped and went, oh yeah, it was all right because I built that self trust. I actually think I didn't build self trust.
Interesting.
Yeah, so because people look at, and this is what I've often struggled with, if I'm honest, is people look at me and go, "Well, you've got loads of confidence. You clearly trust yourself." But when I was leaving, someone said to me, he's great guy. He said to me, "You trust yourself, don't you?" He's ex-cop. He left and just went. He went, "You trust yourself, don't you?" And I hesitated because I didn't. And that is my constant work in
Interesting.
self-trust. And actually having jumped, I've gone, yeah, I have to trust, like you say, when you full immersion, I've gone, I have to learn to trust myself. So interestingly, what I've done is I've learned to, I've gone, my sort of, which I learned from time hackers is like everything really is to do, I believe, is to do with relationship with self, fear, failure, or decisions.
Yes,
Or,
definitely. Yeah.
and what I realized was because I didn't really trust myself, it was affecting my decisions. I wasn't going all in and committing. So now that's the work I've done, which is building my self trust more. But this is literally, I've spent time bawling my eyes out down at my pull up bar. And this is recently. I spend time like this morning going, fucking hell. I've been to the doctors because the anxiety, that triggered stress response, I thought there must be something physically wrong, but there wasn't. It was literally just because my body was going, fuck. And and I just want people to have a realistic picture because I think sometimes people go, oh, there must be something different about you to make that choice and do that. And actually, I've been fucking terrified. And it's been in that journey that I've grown. But on hindsight, looking back, I think, are there things after what you just said, are there things I could have done to build that before taking the leap? It's still been scary, but like actively worked on self trust decisions. And I did that in a police environment, but nothing really prepared me for when I was out and was like back against the wall. That if I don't do something now, the bills aren't paid and that mortgage isn't paid. We got to do something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating how people see you to compared to the reality as well, isn't it?
Yes, and the masks we wear to the world, we become very, very good at putting on a face, an outward persona when inside that we can be struggling. Now, when I was at my darkest place in my life, people thought that I was happy because I was, but when I wasn't happy, I was miserable. That was the challenge. And with depression and anxiety, etc., it really does pull us away from the social world. So people never see that side of ourselves because unfortunately, depression is very isolated and we do it in private. And when we're feeling good, we become more sociable again. But we can be, I was like two people 10 years ago. I had symptoms very similar to bipolar disorder. And I had to do a lot of work on myself to learn how to unravel my patterns that was driving it. But the reality is, people thought that I was fine. That's the scary part.
Mm.
But depression, it really does pull people away from the world, and we have to make a decision in both of our lines of work that helping people to reach out for help it's an act of courage. it's an act of courage for someone to ask for help. And what we do for a living is we can accelerate people's growth very quickly because they can talk about things that they don't necessarily have to talk about with their family. They might not want to put on extra weight on their family that they love, and they know they've got these
Mm.
challenges to deal with, and they want to be the man of the family. They don't feel that they want to put that extra pressure on their partners and their siblings, etc. And it's an act of courage. And what I love helping people with now is understanding that asking for help is not weakness. As men,
Yeah.
this thing that we shouldn't cry and that like crying, we wouldn't have tear ducts if men weren't supposed to cry. So like, please, anyone listening to this, understand the fact we wouldn't have tear ducts if we weren't supposed. Men are supposed to cry, all of us.
Mm.
We need to be able to release the emotional steam inside of our body. And if we've got so much we're dealing with, we can feel like we're going to explode because we just haven't been speaking about that thing we really need to talk about. It's coming out in outbursts of anger and judgment. Our patience is low because we're so stressed out. And we have to learn how to release that valve of pressure. It's like like on a kettle. Imagine a kettle with no exit points. Like we have to release that emotional steam, and that's what it is when we talking about difficult things and setting in place an action plan gives certainty, which equals safety, which helps the body navigate, helps the person navigate very complex situations, and they don't need to relay difficult things. Like being a police officer must be really difficult. The amount of things that you must have gone through in your career, and not wanting to talk about it to Nikki, etc., because of the fact of all the different things that
Mm.
you all the different challenges that we have to go through as a human being. We want to be the man of the house. We want to be the protector, the provider.
Strong. That's what I
We want
hear.
to be strong.
That's what I
But the
hear is, oh, you've got to be strong. And I always challenge the definition. And often people's problem is their definition of strong. You go, well, what is strong? And they go, well, I just glide through. I'm not breaking down. I'm spinning all the plates. And you go, I think that might be the problem. The definition of what is strong.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our nervous system can't keep going on that, and that's why people do reach burnout. And
Mm.
unfortunately, people don't know the warning signs of all the different things that's caused by stress. One of my friends that I spoke with just 2 days ago, he just come out of a long marriage for 15 years, and he had lost all of his hair. He had psoriasis all over his body. He was under chronic stress because his relationship was just deteriorating. As soon as they broke up, the psoriasis went. He's got implants done in India, and he's completely reborn. It's amazing what he's done. But it's absolutely chronic stress is debilitating, and this is a crazy statistic. 90% of all visits to the doctor is because of stress.
Yeah.
Emotional stress just keeps on compounding, and if we don't learn effective stress management, have an effective stress management toolkit to allow us to rebalance ourselves each day. So we're waking up with a full battery rather than waking up and feeling depleted already before the day's begun. So we have to prioritize our self-care. We've got to be selfish at times when we've got to really take a step back and say, I really need to prioritize my own life at the moment because I can't keep giving at the moment.
Mm.
Once you've done that selfish time, it allows us to be selfless and it allows us to constantly give from our overflow. But someone has to be able to navigate and understand where they are in their journey and how much time that they can actually give. If they're really
Mm.
struggling, we can feel like we're sinking emotionally and we've still got obligations and commitments and responsibilities. But if someone's really that bad, they've got to make big decisions. I've got to prioritize my care at the moment because my depression and my anxiety is getting so bad. I'm actually snapping at everyone I love. I'm pushing people away. There's just so many things involved in stress and what we both do for a living to help
Mm.
people to balance themselves and just talk about the things they need to get off their chest, find out an action plan, give them certainty, and then tweak and modify their self-care routine to enable them to do it. And all the different beautiful things with self-regulation, meditation, mindfulness, breath work, walks in nature, journaling, meeting up with your best mate and just allowing yourself to vent off and just allow some of that pressure to come out of your body. Having someone that can really listen is a beautiful gift. And it doesn't have to be a coach, a friend, just someone that's very good at listening and understands. Unfortunately, when it comes to vulnerability, a guy can reach out to someone and he just reaches out to the wrong person 3 times in a row, and all of a sudden his brain goes into protective mode.
Mm.
And their relationship with vulnerability is, man, people think I'm weak because, and all of a sudden their meaning attached to it changes, and people stop opening up. And if that keeps on going on, that emotional pressure just keeps on building up more and more. And unfortunately, people do reach burnout and their body needs months and months and months to heal. Or unfortunately, even worse than that, sometimes the people take their own lives. It's very
Yeah.
serious.
Well, that's what I was about to
Very,
say. The amount of
very,
people,
very serious.
what I see is this pattern of people, like men, where they go, they suddenly reach this problem that they can't solve on their own. They're used to working their way through it. Like this is what I did. Like I could just outwork everything. And then they come to a problem they can't outwork because they think is external, but is internal. And then what they describe to me is that they feel lost, lonely, often like they can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely. They feel lost and demotivated, like so their motivation's gone. They got no get up and go, no energy. And then I think what creeps in then is then I'm letting everyone down. Like this thing that, and you
Yeah.
can see like some people see that I need to go and get help because of the shame attached. Like you said, this thing that we think is a weakness to ask for help, that we want to solve it. The amount of people that have come to me and then gone, I'm going to go away and try and solve this myself. And you think you're trying to solve it. A, it doesn't need solving, but you're trying to fix it with a brain that's created the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
then they feel like they're a failure because they needed help to sort it.
yeah,
And then they feel letting people down. Like you're saying, in those worst case scenarios, people that have so much to give, and this is what I'm really passionate about, is like I was out with someone the other day for a bike ride, and I said to him, "Do you know, no one really gives a fuck what you do for work if your business fails. Like I'm out chatting to you because I like you as a person. My kids, I actually asked them, what do you think about what I do for a living? They're like if I'm in the police, if I go back to the police, if I coach, they're like, I don't really care. They don't. My dad was a production manager and then went down and worked on a factory floor. I love him to bits. He's still around. Great. And I love it. And I had so much respect for him. Never once did I think about his job. And I think that's the big thing. When you think you're letting people down, actually, you're the only one thinking it often, isn't it? That's what I think.
yeah, yeah. It's really true that, Johnny. So the meaning we give an experience becomes the experience.
Mm,
And if someone's relationship with failure, we need to disassociate failure with, to disassociating failing with failure. So
mm,
there's a very big difference between I've made lots of mistakes versus I am a failure because of those mistakes. Now,
mm.
that is a meaning that we're attaching to that, that's generating guilt. If you replay guilt enough times, you get shame. If you replay shame enough times, you get depression. So there's
Mm.
so many different layers to the errors that we can make in how we navigate life. And the mindset component is aligning our mindset with what we want, is always knowing the outcome that we actually want. This act of courage and finding resources and
Mm.
support in different ways that someone can increase their emotional capacity, because that's what we're doing, is increasing emotional capacity. That's what emotional resilience is. And we just can't keep on taking on board more and more and more and more and more, like layer upon layer upon layer upon stress, and not actually learning how to bring ourselves back down. And our mind gets in the way, thinking rest. People can generate guilt just by chilling out for 30 minutes, but they're not chilling out. Say rest is not, it's this thing we have to do it. It's like we don't, it's not about wanting it, it's having to do it. Our body needs rest. And if
Yeah.
someone feels guilty every single time they're taking 30 minutes to just sit down in the garden, but if they're generating guilt, they're still not resting. So all
No.
they've done is sat down, feel guilty, and they just got back in the game again. So mindset is life is mindset. It's very powerful, and our belief systems about rest.
Mm.
Again, that's back to belief again. The belief that sitting down for 30 minutes and listening to the birds in the garden is a waste of time. If someone believes that, they're going to feel guilty. But
Yeah.
sitting in the garden for 30 minutes, enjoying the sound of birds, being really present, being mindful, doing some breathing exercises, doing a bit of garden, you can do a bit of light gardening at the same time, make the garden look pretty. That can still be resting. But it means that their systems allowed to soothe. Like nature's soothing in itself, just being in nature's soothing. But if someone's walking around a beautiful park and they're replaying worry for that thing they've got to do in 2 hours' time, they're not doing it mindfully. They're doing it by projecting their mind into the future, locking onto uncertainty and unpredictability about that meeting they've got to do. And it makes no difference that their body's in the park. They're still not resting. There's a
No.
very big difference between resting and obsessing about overthinking about things constantly inside our psychology. Our minds are constantly talking, those 60 to 70,000 thoughts, and it doesn't matter what the body's doing. They could be sat on the side of the Grand Canyon, the most beautiful view in the world, but their mind is still inside work, sat at their desk, thinking, oh my God, did I sign that document or not? Oh no, did I
Yeah.
not sign that document?
Yeah. And
And
go on,
no,
sorry, mate.
we just need to learn how to adjust our psychology day by day, from a place of loving kindness towards ourselves. Gently work on our patterns, gently, slowly work on our insecurities and fears, gently, slowly work. It's got to be a very gentle process of expanding
Yeah.
ourselves. And that's got to come from clarity. And we
Mm.
can't do that if we're in an eight. So if you imagine a 1 out of 10 stress response and someone's living 8, 9, 10, we can't control and regulate our thoughts when we're in an 8, 9, 10. Our thoughts are going wild. We've got to learn how to bring ourselves down to a 4, 5, 6 out of 10, which is why taking like a 60-second reset, a 5-minute reset, or a 10-minute reset, or a 1 hour reset, depending on how stressed someone is. And we've got different resources that we can do depending on where we are. Just a walk around a park for 3 minutes can really soothe someone. But if they got loads
Mm.
of complex challenges going on, they might need to take a whole hour out. I got to take a step back. That meeting at 5 is very important to me that I got to do. And I'm already really stressed out now. I need to take an hour
Mm.
out now and go out with a friend, have a little chat with someone, do a bit of journaling, get that thing off my chest, find certainty in the plan for that other thing I've got to do. Do you know what I mean? There's so many things we've got to do, isn't there?
And
And planning equals certainty. Certainty equals safety.
I think this would be interesting for people in the police to hear because I think what happens is people join the police, and that what you said about that gradual um, exposure and that and sort of regulated nervous system. I did that through. I went to uniform, shit myself for the first 4 years, didn't know what I was doing. Then you go to the squads, and you're still nervous, but you get you're doing that, and then you got this basis. And then when I went to CID, I had that to draw upon, just like you said with the public speaking. You go, well, I trust myself to make decisions and do all that, but people are coming in. And you could have worked in, and I'm not demeaning these jobs at all, but I'm just saying in comparison, you could have been working in Tesco, you could have been a beautician, you could have been a bus driver, and suddenly you're chucked into main office CID dealing with high risk rapes and child abuse, and suddenly you're going, there's a lot of stake here, and your nervous system's here, and you can't operate, which I wonder is why we got so much burnout. But
Yes, yeah.
and the other thing is, I just want to say, because I think this is really important, is like you said about like the feeling guilty. I think the biggest bullshit I hear is, well, you feel guilty because you care. Almost like if you like guilt is a good thing, and you go, and I think that belief system itself around guilt, people go, I was worrying all weekend about that. Oh, that's because you care. And that sort of locks in the worry and the guilt. And you go, no, no, just because you go home and switch off and don't think about that thing doesn't mean you don't care. And actually, you're going to come back more of an asset. But I think it's
100%. Yeah.
fascinating, isn't it? How we believe, a bit like if I go kayaking, it's almost like if I don't feel guilty, then I don't care about my kids. It shows I care. And you go, no, I think it just shows a mismanaged mind. I think it's a mind that's running amok and creating guilt and fear, really.
Yeah, our mind is a meaning making machine, and we've
Yeah.
got to really identify what the meanings we're attaching to things that isn't correct.
Mm.
And because we learn through osmosis, gradual unconscious learning, we're taking on meanings from the environment all of our lives.
Mm.
And the older we get, we individuate more and more. We know our peer group more and more, the sort of conversations that we want to have, we individuate. But we're trying to work through our belief systems of our parents, of society beliefs, all these different things that are driving it. And the belief about rest, I mean, that's one of the things causing burnout because
Mm.
people think that that is a negative thing to want to do that. And we've got standards that we have for ourselves. And if someone's understepping those standards, that we experience guilt. Okay.
Mm.
Now, the reality is we've got a framework of standards on what we want to achieve. Okay. But then we've also got to have a framework around our self-care that we've got different areas of our life, haven't we? And we
Mm.
need to be able to tap into our inner self to see how much we can give in any given moment. And we've got to prioritize our health. Health is the biggest thing in the world for all of us.
Yeah.
Our physical and mental health. You cannot have patience with three children running around that are screaming if you're already really stressed out. So you're going to snap at your kids.
Mm.
So the meaning, a very empowering meaning is for me to be super dad or super CEO or show up the best version of myself in work when my colleague comes up to me and's got challenges. You want to be able to respond from your highest and best self. And if you're completely sleep deprived and you're not allowing you to rest, then the words aren't going to come out correctly. You can't support people in the right way if we're burning out. It's like
Yeah.
someone sinking. We've got to get ourselves above water before we can help anyone else. The fact is,
It's like the lifeboat sinking, isn't it? Going out to help
it really
people.
is. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But our relationship with the way we navigate life is like we need to rest. Rest and rejuvenation is the thing that helps us do that thing for 15, 20, 30. Like I loved your post you put out the other night on the amount of time that you have left years wise to do that thing that you want to do. I did watch it. Apologize. I forgot to like it. I'm still getting
Yeah,
used to,
no, this thing I
I'm
got it
still getting
here.
used to I'm
I,
still
I,
getting used to the social media thing.
I got it there.
Yeah, it's a really good point for people to understand that life is not, we don't, tomorrow's promised to no one. We don't necessarily have this amount of time. You might not even have that amount of time. We don't know what's coming in 5 years' time. The question that I would ask people in the audience is if you only had 1 year left, what would you do this year to really crank up your ability to create more impact?
Mm.
Maybe it's just more closeness with your family. Maybe this person wants to step down from their work because they want to spend more time with their wife and their children because they're just working, working, working.
Yeah.
Everybody's different in their journey, what they want to create. I've had a major health scare the last 2 months, and it's just made me think, man, I'm 50 this year. I might not be around in 2 years' time. I'm
Yeah.
creating massive exposure and going on podcasts and public speaking as much as I can because I want to help as many people as I can through all the
Yeah.
things that I've been through.
And it's also like if you there's one thing saying you're not going to be there, but what about if it's the last time, like whatever, if you're around, but it's the last time you see that person, like I
100%. Yeah.
and and I think people always think so. This exercise for anyone listening that didn't see it, basically, I heard it in Dan Meredith's book, How to Be Fucking Awesome, and he got it from someone else, as we all do. But you get some squared paper, you shade out. I did 82, I think 80, yeah, no 85 because I that's the average age of a man, what life expectancy. I like to think I'd go longer, but let's go 85. And you shade out the years you've been alive. So for me, it's 47. And then you shade back. I went to like 65. I went because, that's when I'm probably going to be slowing down a bit. Maybe not, but let's be conservative. And you got these white space in the middle. And you go, that's it. That's the good stuff. And and people often think, oh, you're going to go on book holidays and spend loads of money, and you go, no. For me, what it means is when my boys come in from school, that I get up and I listen to their day, even if my head's going, oh, I'm not really
That's a big
interested
deal,
in
man.
what they're
Well
doing.
done.
And
Yeah.
and and also like the amount of people that are on their phones. If you think if this was the last time you were going to spend with your kids, and then people go, it's a bit dramatic. No, no, no. But this is how to find out what's really important. If this is the last time you're going to speak to your kids, last time when your spouse goes out the door. I did this the other day. Like Nikki walked out. You go, you're busy. Yeah, yeah. See you later. And you go, what about if that was the last time? But like, if treat it as if it is, and you'll do the simple things, get the basics right, and your life will be better. I think. Like
Yeah.
you won't be on your
100%.
phone. You will just go. And you'll tell that person that's so familiar in your life that you probably take for granted that you love them, and you might do something a bit not huge, but just a bit special, and go, oh, do you know what? I'll tidy the kitchen for them, or I'll make them a cup of tea. Oh, I'll cook tea tonight. All that shit is the stuff that really I think makes a difference. And this is what these exercises I think make you do. It makes you focus on what is truly important.
Yeah, it really is important. I think it's really, really empowering. And like, I know it might sound strange to meditate on your own morality, but for me, it's been very empowering to actually have this and bring it into the light of the fact that day-to-day challenges can really take over our psychology, and the small things can really take over our mind's attention. What we pay attention to, we're going to feel. And if we're not aligning ourselves with what we want from life and our values and the connections we want to make, we could just be swept away constantly by small things. Because life's constantly going to chuck us curveballs. We have to learn how to refine our decision making to help us reduce the amount of suffering we have to go through so
Mm,
we can make higher quality decisions to help us live the life that we want. But life continues to throw us curveballs. And if we keep on paying attention to the things that aren't going well, that's what we're going to feel. And that's why gratitude is so powerful because there's always people worse off than what you are currently going through. All of us, life is difficult. Life is suffering, as the Buddha is saying.
mm,
And it's really recognizing being grateful for what you have and working on things that really matter and really thinking about if this really was my last year, what would I do differently at the moment? And trying to filter your actions and behaviors and your habits, etc., through that lens. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Of course, it's not going to happen, hopefully. But the reality, it really makes you see things clearer about what's most important. And it helps us to
mm.
align our actions with our values more and more. And it's a gentle process, this. We obviously need to do it gently. But for me, I've just been full immersion at the moment, thinking, okay, what would I do? I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
go
what I
full
did.
back and jump into this.
But
Um,
But it is, isn't it? Because I know as well, like gratitude is probably something I've struggled with. As in, like, I'm not saying I'm an ungrateful person, but I'm naturally dopaminergic pleasure seeker. So I'm really mindful of controlling that. But once I've got something, it's like my brain goes, all right, what next? What next? But it is, it's called a gratitude practice for a reason. And I would say to anyone that is the all or nothing, always seeking, if you don't practice gratitude, you will not feel fulfilled. Fulfillment doesn't come from the thing you chase. And someone said to me once, my coach, he went, you could just go to the fridge and feel fulfilled that you've got food. And I was like, grateful that you got food. I was like, well, I got the food. I want more stuff. But the other, where it works for me is like the other day, I thought, what am I grateful for? And I thought, my boys are now 16 and the other one's coming up 15. They still want to be dropped off at school and they give me a hug at the gate at 16. And I came in, I had to go and pick Nikki up because she went very well the other day. I had to cycle over to her mum and dad's to pick up the car. I came back, the boys had cooked tea. I said, can you finish cooking tea? They not only cooked tea, but when I walked in, my youngest said, do you want me to heat tea up for you? And then he sat with me whilst I ate. And I was like, and that, when I think of those things, what I find with gratitude is when you find those things you're really grateful for, the fear goes away. Fear can't exist in the gratitude. And yes, don't get me wrong, I then go out into my day to day and the fear comes back, and that's fine. But when you have that tool just to be able to sit at any moment when life feels fucking hard and it feels like it's against you to go, and you have that little vision in your head of that thing you're grateful for, I can actually sit there at any point, imagine my boy sitting there and be overwhelmed with gratitude. That for me is a real gift. And you realize you can really harness. I think when you practice that, you live more in the moment. And yes, you can still want stuff, but you don't need it. You're not chasing it to feel better.
yes, and that is a big deal. We're not chasing that high. It's the journey ultimately, isn't it? But
Mm,
the reality of gauging our progression, so the byproduct of progress is happiness. Gratitude allows us to see our progress better. If
mm,
our mind's always locked onto worst case scenario because of the negativity bias, our mind's always looking for errors. That's what the negativity bias does for us.
mm,
And gratitude, it allows us to see our progression. That is a big, powerful thing because if you want to get, if you've got this vision that you want for your life, you want to be able to see where you're improving. Our mind doesn't look for improvements; it looks for errors and negativity. But and that's a really big deal. So if we train the muscle of gratitude, it helps you to see the little micro improvements you're making in all different areas of your life. If that helps you to feel full, that helps you to it gives you meaning in the byproduct of progress and happiness. Tony
mm.
Robbins again.
And I think what happens is because people go to this all or nothing thinking where they suddenly go, they either really care or they don't care. They're all about people, colleagues at work helping them, or then they're screw you all. And what I realized was when you actually realize who's going to be stood around you on your last days, I know this all sounds morbid, we're talking about death, but you need to consider it to live. What I realized was since leaving the police, I was in 18 and a half years, and I don't say this with any judgment or anything, because or anything like that, but I've had one person contact me. But like, so you go, And I'm not saying that you don't do a good job and you don't put your all in, but you have to do that. You do it based on your values, not based on wanting to be accepted, not
Yes,
wanting to
yeah,
find love. Because what you'll find is you can give a massive chunk of your life to something and then go, why is no one appreciating that? Oh, they just forgot me. Whereas for me, I got this approach now where I go in, whatever I do, I'll give my all and I'll give it. But my main priority is Nikki and the boys and my family and my health. That is my non-negotiable. So if I suddenly I'm looking at going for a job and it's loads of hours and doing that, and someone's going, oh yeah, but you'll be good at it, and so massaging your ego, I'm like, no, because I think you have to be realistic. When these things we give our all for and people are striving for and feel so important, when you leave, I think you get a card and then that's it. There's a very few, you'll count on one hand those people that probably remember you and keep in contact. And I think all that thing is not negative. It actually makes you live in line with what is truly important. Because I know so many people that have given their life to a job and then not spent any time with their kids, not prioritized their partner, got divorced when they've retired and all that. And they've got a lovely plaque saying how long they were in the job, and that's it. And I think it's just about doing all of this to move life in the direction that you want to go in and what's important for you is sort of my view on it.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that, Johnny. I think one of the things that also takes place that someone's identity can be attached to their status in the role. So they put
Mm,
all this time and effort into that role, but then when they stop doing that role, all of a sudden they gave their all to it. Then part of their identity and their confidence was attached to the status of it.
mm,
And that when they stop that job and they retire, people can lose a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem because they haven't thought about the fact that how much meaning that gave to them. And all of a sudden they go through like an identity crisis around how they can really find themselves again. If
mm,
people expect this to happen, going back to expectation, what I said earlier, when we expect this may happen in 6 months when I retire, how am I going to fill my time? How am I going to derive meaning now? And what
mm,
am I going to do that's going to help me to fill that void? Because you can't just retire with, so nature doesn't do vacuums. So there's no such thing as an empty space in nature. There's always something there. Even dark matter in space is there, even though space is called space. There's still something there. There's still substance. And I think when someone retires, they've got to make sure they kind of plan out what their retirement looks like and how are they going to derive meaning. And just if someone hasn't got healthy habits when they retire, those habits just increase by 10. And then all of a sudden, with the money they've got, they're doing things that's affecting their health because they got so much more time. So
yes, yeah,
that identity around our self-confidence and self-esteem, we need to kind of plan it out correctly instead of just thinking my life's going to be amazing because I'm not working. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need to plan things out. Plan equals certainty, certainty equals safety. But our identity and our self-confidence is a big deal. Our bodies change as we get older, our looks change as we get older,
mm,
energy levels change. And we kind of need to take all these things into consideration when we're taking that next stage through life, like 40, 50, 60, 70, these decades. We're such different people each decade.
mm,
And we need to explore these questions when we've got the finances, the status still, and the money, and think, what am I going to do at that point? And give it a lot of deep thought and reflect and build your dream life. Like build
mm,
the dream life beforehand. So when it happens, you've already got certainty because you've already got the plan. So
yeah,
planning is very, it doesn't need to be crystallized perfect, but just a rough vision of the direction you want to be in. And having goals is, we're goal striving machines, whatever that goal is. Our brain's designed for goal striving. That's why we're the dominant species on the planet, because we love conquering, overcoming goals, etc. That's effectively
mm,
what it is. And I think 40, 50, 60, and 70, we need to have different goals depending on what century we're in, and that will give us meaning still. We need to find that somewhere.
yeah. I love it. And we're coming up now. We've just gone over the hour. I could speak to you all day, Christian. I love it.
That was an excellent conversation. Thank you, Johnny,
Yeah,
for
I
having
just
me on
loved it.
today.
But if anyone's listening to this, we'll put your stuff in the description anyway, all your links. But who is it, in like a nutshell, who is it you help and how can people get hold of you?
My website is internalflow.co.uk. My email,
Internal? Yeah,
internalflow.co.uk.
yeah.
and my email is christian@internalflow.co.uk. And the people I serve are, I think, self-regulation. So if someone's struggling with anxiety or depression, I do teach a lot of mental health because it's directly attached to self-regulation, our ability to work with our internal world. But I also help people to create vision. So when we've got a vision, it lights us up inside. If we don't think that, if we're caught in our problems all day long and all we're thinking is replaying problems, we can get caught day by day just rehearsing emotions we don't want to be
Mm,
living in. We got to learn how to self-regulate. So we're learning to process our internal world. We're creating a vision, help people to build their confidence up again. If someone's gone through a life transition and they've had a major self-esteem hit, just like that identity that I mentioned then, it really affects us. I've had two identity crises in my life, and it really did massively send my body, my whole world in a spiral. And I had to develop a very unique skill set. I am self-educated, and I've been slowly doing this for the last 10 years. I've been building this skill set now. And
mm.
I want to help people to rebuild themselves through challenges they've had, rebuild their confidence, that realign their lifestyle with what they want to create, and to help them to create vision. That's what I do for a living.
Love it. And do you work just with men or women as well?
It is men and women actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, men and women, predominantly over 30 is my target market. But to be fair, if someone's struggling, then I'm happy to help them out.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Well, we'll put we'll put all your stuff in there, and I'd urge you to go and speak to Christian if you are struggling, or if you sort of go, yeah, just feeling that sort of lost, and you've heard what he does, and I think it's brilliant. So, yeah, I wish you all the best, mate. And I think it'd be good to have you back on because we haven't actually heard about your story, and I think your story is very interesting.
I've got a
Um,
pretty complicated story.
yeah, and if you're
But
happy to
thank
talk
you very
about,
much, Oscar.
I think it'd be interesting to have you if you wanted to come back on
I would
and
absolutely love
talk.
to.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite today and for next time as well, Johnny.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next week. Or, well, not see you, because obviously, unless you're on YouTube, but speak to you next week. Bye bye.